Well, getting my springs fixed. Getting an add a leaf put on both sides. Hello everyone. I want to do a quick update on what's been going on with my van. So I kind of have been giving a little bit of hints that I needed to get my van in and have some work done to it. So I'm going to finally reveal and share what I finally had done to my van. Now, for some of you that have been following my journey for many years will remember that about a year after I had the van, when I got back from Arizona, so my first trip coming out there, and then I got back, I discovered I had a ripped shackle mount. So it was still attached to the leaf spring, but it had pulled out from the mount area and it lodged itself under like a bar, like a framing bar that's underneath the bed of the van. So it wedged itself up in this bar that helped to prevent it from going through the bottom of the bed area, basically the bottom of the bed area floorboard, right? So what had happened is I had to have it welded, all put back together, but the leaf springs were fine. Everything was good there. Now I will share the video of that incident for anybody who might be new to my channel and might want to go take a journey back in time and go look at that. I'll put a link so you can go and watch that video. But now as time has gone on, what has happened is the van definitely has had more wear on one side of the spring a little bit. I would say I always had trouble with a leaning issue because of that pulled shackle mount. Actually, it broke on the driver's side, but yet it leaned more to the opposite side because of the way that it had lodged itself on the bar, right, which is lower than where it normally is mounted. So it kind of made the van just teeter a little bit more on the opposite side. So even though everything was welded and put back together, and they did I thought a pretty good job when they welded it back, it just definitely, from it being lopsided for about a year, it just, you know, left a little weak side, I would say. It's kind of like having a broken leg, and once you have a broken leg, even though it mends, it's never going to be 100% after it does mend itself together, right? There's always going to be a little bit of a difference there. So what I finally decided to do, because I could tell that one side was still, never did come back 100% level, and also I started noticing that I had to put more air in my airbags than I used to before, and also the van wasn't stable, you know, like it was all the time that I've been driving it in the wind. Did fine otherwise, but just when there was really strong winds, there's definitely was a difference from what I have felt before. So I finally found a leaf specialist, you know, or spring specialist, sorry, and I took the van over there because my gut was telling me to either replace the leaf springs or just stiffen them up and put what's called an add-a-leaf on my van leaf springs. And that's what I started to think about doing, is putting the add-a-leaf, but I wanted to confirm that everything was still okay with the leaf springs, and they definitely did confirm that the leaf springs were fine. I mean, if they were really out to get my money, they could have said, oh no, you really need leaf springs, you know, they need to be replaced. But they said no, they're still in very, you know, very good condition. And considering what the van had gone through, it just like I said, it was just something different that I knew that needed to be done. And that it was just slight wear, but nothing that had to be totally replaced. That's the best thing I can do to explain it. But I needed to stiffen up the van so that it wasn't so, you know, a little wobbly when the wind was hitting, and also I wouldn't have to put so much air in my airbags, because I was putting like up to 90 pounds, and definitely that wasn't good. So I'm going to show you kind of why and what was the indicator that I was seeing that I was having an issue from one side to the other, okay? But it's fixed now, but I'll explain what they did. All right, so what the indicator was the distance between the wheel and the fender. It was lower on this side than the other side. So this is the side that it was leaning when the shackle mount had busted on the driver's side. I know it's weird, but that's what it was doing. It was leaning more on this side. So since then, it was getting a little bit worse between the distance from the tire to the fender. So on this side, he had to put 2 of the atta leaves here, and the other side he only had to put 1. And that was to even out the van from one side to the other. All right, and so this is the other side, okay, and the distance here. So they only needed to put the 1 on this side, but I definitely have a lot more clearance in here, and I'm really happy with how it performed, especially the appearance. He showed me how it did with the airbag pressure. Before I was having to pump up like 90 pounds of pressure trying to get it up, especially the other side. I'd have to put 90 on the other side, make sure that was beefed up. And now he only has 40 pounds of pressure in my airbags, and I'll show you the airbags. But you can see the difference, or see where it's at here. Okay, so this is the side that I always had to pump up a little bit more air on this side than the other side, because I was trying to make up the difference of it being lower over here, okay? So I'm really happy with that. And yeah, I don't know, see the leaf springs are, I don't know if you can see, but right in there is the leaf springs. And I don't know where the actual atta leaf is at this point in the game. I didn't really crawl underneath, but these guys specialized in it, and I trust them. Yeah, so I'm real happy with the space that I have now between the wheel and the fender. So I have better clearance between the fender and the wheel as I'm driving on these uneven dirt roads, which was another concern of mine, how it was dropping on this side. Yeah, so very happy with their work. Now the guy also said he's seen even fairly new vehicles that come, you know, these motorhomes and things like that. Because remember, I have a Class B RV camper van. In a short period of time, that, or even sometimes off the lot, will be slightly lopsided from one side to the other, and has nothing to do with weight, you know, or making sure you have your weight evenly distributed in the vehicle. So he just says sometimes it just happens with them, and maybe it is because of the way that the housing and mechanisms, and as you're driving, and because remember, every time you're driving these rigs, you're like putting your home through a 6-point magnitude earthquake. all the jarring and everything, and especially taking them off dirt roads and things like that. It's equivalent to that, and it does wear and tear on the cabinetry and the old fixtures and everything that is inside your rig, and they do break down. So it's really important to keep up on everything instead of waiting for something to seriously go wrong. So I was able to notice that, and then if I really hit a good bump, then the fender, boom, would hit the wheel. And it didn't happen a lot, but it did happen enough that brought more of awareness of what was going on, and I evaluated both the sides, and it really saw what was going on and said, no, I need to address this issue, and I need to get this addressed as soon as possible to curb that. Now, I have heard people having these older rigs like this, and then eventually the leaf springs, all of them have to be replaced. That wasn't this situation. I met a guy actually two guys that were traveling that came from Canada, and they have a much newer rig than mine, but a high top, not this make, just a single wheel on the back, and they were having trouble in the wind too. Like what I was explaining, it was like it was just really getting knocked by the wind, when before it didn't, at like 20-25 mile per hour winds. I don't drive it when it's really high winds, but above that, like 30 miles, no way. So anyways, they said that they were having trouble, and they actually did some leaf spring work. I think they actually just went ahead and replaced theirs, and it solved their problem, they said, almost immediately. And I said, well, that's really good news, because I'm going to be looking at, I told them, getting an add-a-leaf rather than, hopefully I won't have to replace all the leaf springs. But they do break down through time, so it's something to be watching. And if these guys were not honest, I mean, they honestly could have tried to take me for, oh, leaf springs, you need brand new leaf springs on both sides, and really try to get a lot of money out of me. And they didn't. They said, no, these are in pretty good shape, but we can see that one side is definitely lower than the other side, and it's start of some wear, probably because of what happened to my van. And so he said, what we're going to do is we'll take all the airbag pressure down, and then what we're going to do is we're going to compare the sides, and then we'll see where you need to be, because he said then we can put two on one side and one on the other side, but they can determine that when they actually take all the air out of the airbags. And then from there, we're just lifting up, putting air in the airbags just to top off and take off some of the pressure, and allow the airbags to help that out, and not have to put such high pounds of pressure at that 90 pounds, because he said if you continue doing that, you're going to cause your airbags to fail, and I didn't want that to happen. So he said the earlier we definitely address this issue will save my airbags. So when I left, or what you're seeing outside now, is with 40 pounds of pressure in my airbags. I have never, ever since I've had this van, only had 40 pounds. I think 65 was where I started with in those airbags when I got the van. So what a huge difference. And then I was up to 90, so I knew I had to address that issue. All right, so I didn't want this to get too long. I just want to give an update, what I did to my van, why I did it, what was going on. And I couldn't have been happy when I came driving down off this dirt road after the work. It was just amazing. I just was happy. So I haven't put it through a wind test, so maybe I'll have to give you an update later after I drive it in some kind of windy conditions, and then I'll let you know if I notice a difference. So thanks for coming along my journey. Thanks for sharing what's been going on with me. and stay tuned for my next travel video. And I love you all, and I'll see you then. I'm talking to the coyote. I don't know what we're saying to each other, but he's talking.